What up, y'all? Thanks for stopping in. Huge Sonic fan here. So I saw this video by a YouTube channel called Kiro Talks. Which half of Sonic 3 and Knuckles is better? So it looks like either the Sonic 3 portion or the Sonic and Knuckles portion, right? This game is largely considered the best Sonic game in the franchise, especially during the 2D era. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the complete game, and in my opinion, it's my favorite game of all time. It's very special to me. And having to pick is very, very tough, man. That is tough. Sonic and Knuckles portion had more zones, but Sonic 3 has some. Angel Island Zone was epic even from the beginning. Riding on the plane, hops off Supersonic. Knuckles pops out the ground, punches the Chaos Emeralds out of Sonic, takes them. Knuckles is an asshole for the entire game. And you really don't know until you play the Knuckles version about the whole story, how Robotnik was manipulating him, lying to him, etc., etc. Angel Island was Hydrocity is arguably the greatest Sonic zone of all time. Carnival Night Zone, even though that annoying part that for so many years all I had to do was press up and down. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the damn barrel. I hated Launch Base Zone. I hate Launch Base Zone. But Sonic and Knuckles portion, whew. Not a big fan of Mushroom Hill Zone. I definitely like Angel Island Zone better for the first stage. But man, you got Lava Reef Zone, Sky Sanctuary Zone, Hidden Palace, fighting Knuckles for the first time, finally goes down. Freaking Doomsday Zone. Come on, Doomsday Zone is epic, man. Oh, that's tough. I hated Sandopolis Zone, and I hated Flying Battery Zone. Man, that is really tough, man. Ice Cap Zone. Freaking snowboarding with the freaking Michael Jackson song. Come on, man. If I had to pick one, I might have to go on a Sonic and Knuckles side. Just because you get more of the complete story, and that Doomsday Zone was epic. Anyway, sorry to keep you waiting. Let's get into this reaction.
Today, I'm going to make the entire Sonic fan base cry, because I'm going to make you guys have to choose your favorite child. Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles? Which half of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, considered by many to be the best game in the franchise, is better? The first and most important criteria to measure how good a game is of course, the box art. Some people say you can't judge a book by its cover, but hey, this ain't a stinking book. Sonic 3's box art varies quite drastically depending on your region. The American one is illustrated by Greg Martin, and it's a classic. Sonic just holding up 3 fingers, Knuckles is creeping, Tails just looking dumb, and Eggman committing a war crime. The Japanese box art, featuring character artwork by Akira Watanabe.
Let me tell you what, that Sonic 3 box art, remember the first time I seen it, blew my mind. I'm like, who is that hiding in the bushes? Yo.
Has a cool,
that's when I fell in love with Knuckles.
Cool 90s pop art aesthetic that I really vibe with. Though, honestly, it doesn't really do anything different from the previous Sonic games that used the same art style. As for the European box art, what is that? Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Sonic and Knuckles. Now this is how you do a box art. All it is just a logo, but that's all you need.
That's epic.
If you look closely, Sonic and Knuckles' heads are attached with the lock-on technology that the game uses too.
I never caught that. The nod to the lock-on technology. I never caught that before. Damn.
Attention to detail is just the icing on the cake. It's so simple, so clean, so iconic that yeah. The artwork is basically the same across all regions, though the Japanese box art uses a white background instead of an all black that the US and European box art use. The white background kind of clashes with the whole thing, so I'm definitely going with the US version, but yeah.
When I finally got my hands on Sonic and Knuckles, man, it was like the most amazing thing being able to put my Sonic 3 cartridge in that thing. I remember it like it was yesterday. Rented it from Blockbuster, man. My dad was in the kitchen cooking, setting it up in the living room. It was an incredible feeling, man. I tell you. I remember it like it was yesterday.
No contest. Every version of the Sonic & Knuckles box art is better than the Sonic 3 box art. The second most important metric to measure a Sonic game's quality is not the gameplay, not the story, not the color of Sonic's eyelids. No, it's the title screen. Now, this showdown is a little bit closer. Both title screens are pretty rad.
Sonic & Knuckles takes it. How the freaking Robotnik goes down, they come from the sky. It was epic.
Sonic 3 has Sonic flying into the Sega logo and giving you that signature sassy finger wag. Meanwhile, his buddy Tails is flying the tornado over Angel Island in the background. Sonic & Knuckles, on the other hand, has Sonic slowly falling down until he lands side by side with Knuckles with the fallen Death Egg behind them. Both are great. Sonic 3's title is super in your face, literally with Sonic jumping towards the screen. Sonic & Knuckles' title is great because it's actually tied with the lore of the game, as the title screen takes place directly after the ending of Sonic 3. Sonic has just defeated Eggman in Launch Bay Zone, and he falls back down to the island with the Death Egg's launch delayed as it remains stuck in Lava Reef Zone. I'm gonna give the edge to Sonic & Knuckles because the menu interface is just cooler. Sonic 3's menu is pretty basic, and for some reason they use Sonic's shoe as the cursor. Instead, Sonic & Knuckles actually uses cute little sprites for each character, and it morphs into the next character when you swap between them. Really cool. I'm also going to give the edge to Sonic & Knuckles because I'm still bitter about that stupid Sonic 3 level select code that you have to input in negative 0.8 nanoseconds on the title screen just to get it to work. At bare minimum, even if the game is dog doo-doo, at least, you gotta make sure your Sonic game has good music. So that will be our next area of comparison. Both games have some absolute bangers. Hydrocity and Launch Base for Sonic 3, Flying Battery and Lava Reef for Sonic & Knuckles. There really isn't one song I outright dislike. But at the end of the day, I gotta go with MJ. Who allegedly worked on music for Sonic 3, but for one reason or another went uncredited. Unfortunately, 3 out of the 6 zones in Sonic 3 had their music changed from the final release in the Origins collection. No one knows the specifics, but it's speculated to be due to legal issues regarding the rights to the songs between Sega and one or more of the composers who allegedly work with MJ.
I remember that. A lot of people were upset about that.
On the Sonic 3 soundtrack. But either way, Sonic 3 has a really unique musical identity all its own due to its use of samples and the variety of influences it takes from. Ice Cap and Launch Base are top tier, timeless hits. Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles are some of the most gorgeous games on the Genesis, so ranking these games based on their graphics is like choosing between playing Sonic Labyrinth or dying in a pit of spikes. Either way, it's going to be a slow and painful experience. There are so many layers of great backgrounds with parallax.
I hated this stage too. God, I hated this stage. Marble Garden Zone. Oh, the freaking spinners. I hated this stage, man. This one was painful.
Scrolling effects that make each stage feel super detailed and alive. There are an abundance of great color palettes that are a treat to look at. What can I say? I like pretty colors. Sonic & Knuckles has some not so great looking levels. Death Egg and Flying Battery are both pretty simple looking mechanical base levels that we see all the time in Sonic games. Flying Battery does at least have an outdoor section to spice things up a bit, but still not super interesting. And Sandopolis is just a lot of sand. Sky Sanctuary is alright. There's a neat contrast between the blue sky and the greenish-yellow ruins. Lava Reef and Mushroom Hill are the standout zones graphically. The way Mushroom Hill gradually changes over the course of the level, reflecting the various seasons of summer, fall, and winter, is stunning. And the sharp transition between the molten red-hot first act of Lava Reef versus the cooler and more relaxed second half is amazing. Not to mention those sweet crystals that slowly gradient through different colors. Sonic 3 too has some not-so-great stages like Marble Garden, which is kind of generic looking, grass level type thing. And you've also got Launch Bay Zone, whose Act 1 visuals just look like someone threw a bunch of crayons at the screen. But there are some amazing levels like Carnival Night, which is Launch Base's idea of basically a bunch of different colors, but done right. The neon lights really pop against the dark background. Angel Island is pretty okay and lots of vibrant colors. Ice Cap is solid too, despite mainly only using blue and white. The really dark cave background fits nicely with the brighter foreground. Hydrocity has a great color contrast between the purple and blue background with the orange foreground as well. I can't really decide on which game I like better visually, so we're gonna decide which one is better based on which game has the better Act 2 change-ups. Starting with Sonic 3, Angel Island goes...
Listen, that transition on Angel Island Zone, it's the first time we've seen a transition, like a stage from stage 1 to stage 2 like that. Epic. Setting everything ablaze, epic.
From a tropical island...
That's when I knew, I was like, Sonic 3 is on a whole nother level.
To a tropical island in California. Hydrocity really doesn't change much outside of a different background. Marble Garden, again, just a different background. Carnival Night is mostly the same, but for a small part of Act 2, it's in the dark when Knuckles turns the lights off. It makes for a funny moment when your eyes have to adjust when you do turn the lights back on.
Flashbang.
Ice Cap is primarily a cave level for the first act, but we finally get to touch grass, or touch ice, in Act 2 when we go outside. Finally, Launch Base gets a bunch of tubes and a much better background because, wow, that Act 1 background was a mess. Now on to Sonic and Knuckles. I've already talked about Mushroom Hill's amazing seasonal transitions as well as Lava Reef, so I'll skip those. Flying Battery is, well, basically the same. Sandopolis starts off outside and then you go inside of a pyramid, which is pretty spiffy.
The inside portion actually scared me as a kid. Those ghosts were scary. I don't know. I was petrified.
The jump from Hidden Palace to Sky Sanctuary is pretty slick. You use this teleporter to go up from this deep ancient cavern to gorgeous ruins in the sky. Finally, the Death Egg Zone. The background changes from the inside of the base into the earth in the background. A pretty substantial change.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to cover, like, in the lava level, like the progression of the launch and how much closer you see. Forgot the name of it. It's called a Death Egg. I can't remember.
All in all, I think Sonic & Knuckles has the superior Act 2 graphics changes, probably because Sonic & Knuckles is the more story-focused half of the complete Sonic 3 and Knuckles experience. So, I'm giving this point to Sonic & Knuckles. While both games are incredibly similar gameplay-wise, each game brings some unique features to the table. Sonic 3, as you can see from the title screen, has a 2-player competition mode where you can race a buddy. You can also play with 2 people in the 1-player mode with the second player taking control of Tails. The competition mode is pretty cool. It even has unique stages that aren't in the single player. The co-op single player is not as good. The camera only follows the first player, so the person stuck playing as Tails is forced to go into little brother mode. All you need is a broken Mad Catz controller and...
I was literally about to say that. That was me playing with my older brother. He was always Sonic. I always had to be Tails. But we never played Sonic 3 together. He had already left, so we played Sonic 2 together.
You're good to go. If you're feeling like an antisocial dork, you can play as Sonic solo or Tails solo. There isn't much reason to play solo, unlike in Sonic 2 where having Tails is...
I had all those save files maxed out with all types of variations. I guess there's not many, but... Tails 100%, Sonic 100%, Sonic and Tails 100%.
Actually a detriment, considering he screws you up in the special stages. Also, unlike Sonic 2, Sonic and Tails have unique abilities from one another. Sonic has his Insta-Shield, which I'm pretty sure everyone on their first playthrough thought was useless, but if you play the game a bit more, you begin to realize how broken this ability is. Essentially, it increases the size of the jump attack's hitbox in the air. However, Sonic's hurt box is still the same. If all of that fighting game terminology flew over your head, then let me break it down for you guys. It makes it easier for you to hit enemies without making it easier for enemies to hit you. You can use this to absolutely clobber some bosses. Like, they become absolute jokes. Sonic also has unique attacks for each elemental shield. Instead of the Insta Shield, if you press the jump button again when in the air, you get a dash attack with the fire shield, a bounce attack with the bubble shield.
I thought the bubble, fire, and electric shields were spot on in this game. Blew my mind.
And a double jump with the lightning shield. I always forget Sonic is the only one that can use these abilities. Meanwhile, Tails has his signature flying ability, which for some reason he couldn't do in Sonic 2 solo, despite it being a part of the most defining trait of his character. It certainly makes the game easier, being able to just fly over all the danger. Sonic 3 also has a save feature, the first of the Genesis games to have one. The game is pretty short, but you might only have a few minutes to play, so it really is convenient. You can even go back and replay zones you've already finished, so you don't have to put in a silly code to go back and play the levels again. Sonic & Knuckles has none of these convenient features, unfortunately. Well, Well, except for multiple playable characters. As you might have guessed, in this game, you can play as Sonic and Knuckles. While Tails was a cool playable character in Sonic 3, Knuckles is a lot more interesting, primarily because his moveset has a lot more going on. While Knuckles can't fly, he can glide, allowing you to go over obstacles, but it isn't quite as brain dead as flying above everything, as you can't gain vertical height with the glide. Knuckles also has his wall climb, which I hate using because it's so slow, but it is really useful.
It is
like
useful.
Tails, Knuckles can't use the special moves of the elemental shields. Also, unfortunately, Knuckles has a lower jump height than Sonic and Tails.
I didn't know that. As much as I played that game, I didn't know that he had a lower jump height.
This, along with just more difficult encounters in general, means Knuckles' campaign is certainly the hard mode of the game. To make up for this, Knuckles also has the ability to punch through some walls, which allows Knuckles to go through completely different routes in the levels. Having unique areas to play through instantly makes Knuckles a more interesting character to play as, along with a greater challenge. Not only that, the story is different when you play as Knuckles too.
Yeah.
Knuckles' storyline surprisingly does not take place during Sonic's storyline as one might expect given how future games would handle multiple storylines. Instead, Knuckles' campaign takes place after Sonic's campaign. Eggman has been defeated, but his egg robo machine continues causing problems for Knuckles. Knuckles even has a different final boss than Sonic, Mecha Sonic Mark II. Sonic does fight Mecha Sonic in his run, but in Knuckles' run, Mecha Sonic absorbs the power of the Master Emerald, becoming Super Mecha Sonic Mark II. This is a way cooler final boss than the Death Egg robot. Conceptually, it's unique too because Mecha Sonic, just like Sonic in-game, can't maintain his super form forever. He has to recharge. So you have to use those brief moments of recharging to kick the bozo while he's down. He even starts throwing rings at you in a last-ditch effort to win. It's a super cool battle. Speaking of final bosses, one of the really cool things Sonic and Knuckles does is there's a special extra final boss encounter if you collect all of the Chaos Emeralds as Sonic, called the Doomsday Zone. Where as Super Sonic, you have to chase down Eggman, escaping in...
Or, if you get all Super Emeralds, you can do it as Hypersonic, which is even cooler.
...his Death Egg robot with the Master Emerald. Before this game, true endings in Sonic games were mostly just different cutscenes at the end of the game, but here you actually get more content. While I do like the Doomsday Zone, it's a tense race against the clock as you try to stop Eggman before you run out of rings. I think as a whole, Knuckles' final encounter is just cooler. Oh, I almost forgot. Sonic and Knuckles' most iconic feature, lock-on technology. By connecting your Sonic and Knuckles cartridge to other games, you can create brand new experiences, like Knuckles and Sonic 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Blue Sphere, the greatest Sonic game of all time.
So if you want to know what this No Way is, that's when you try to plug in Sonic 1 into Sonic 2, or into Sonic and Knuckles. They're like, you can't do that, bro.
If you want to learn more about that and Sonic and Knuckles' lock-on technology, go check out my Blue Sphere video. It really isn't much of a contest here. Sonic and Knuckles just has so much more to offer. The core of any video game, the levels. I feel like the easiest way to compare the two games is to just go level by level for each game. Angel Island versus Mushroom Hill. I like Angel Island, and I also like Mushroom Hill. Both are great grassy beginner levels. But Mushroom Hill has some pretty annoying gimmicks like these tethers, the hanging seesaws, the chickens that blow air to hold you back, and those bums who throw mushrooms at you. I gotta pick Angel Island.
Yep, absolutely.
Hydrocity versus Flying Battery. Both of these stages have banger music, some of the best from each game.
Not even a question.
Both are solid levels. However, Hydrocity I feel is just...
Hydrocity is a peak Sonic stage, alright?
Just a more fluid stage.
What do you call it? Hydrocity or Hydro City? I've always called it Hydrocity, but some people called it Hydro City.
Marble Garden versus Sandopolis. Funny how the third stage from both Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles are one of, if not the weakest stages from each game. Both are some of my least favorite stages, but I'll pick Marble Garden since at least that doesn't take nearly 10 minutes to get through. Carnival Night versus Lava Reef. Once again, we have another similarity between the stages. Both of these stages are the best visually, in my opinion, from each game. Both have awesome music too. I'll give it to Lava Reef though, because screw those barrels. Ice Cap versus Sky Sanctuary. Both of these stages are the best stages in each game. Dang, what is it with these consistent parallels between each stage? This might be a controversial one, but I gotta go with Sky Sanctuary. I feel like Sky Sanctuary is a super slept on stage.
It
There
is.
are very few moments of slow,
It is.
monotonous platforming or waiting. There are multiple pathways without making me feel lost or confused. This stage has a very nice flow to it that reminds me a lot of Sonic 2's level design. Sky Sanctuary is only one act, but it makes the most of that one act. Ice Cap is a fantastic level, but that snowboarding section at the beginning?
Peak.
Cool. Your first time playing, right? Not so cool. Your 12th time playing. Launch Base versus Death Egg. Easily Launch Base. I don't love Launch Base, but
Nope. I'm taking Death Egg. And a lot of people don't like those little things that you ride. The little waves. I thought that was cool.
it is far less annoying than the anti-gravity, the elevators, and the absurdly drawn-out light trail sections
It is drawn out, but I loved it. I don't know why. That right there.
of the Death Egg. In the time it takes to get through all of the light trail sections in Death Egg Zone Act 2, I could literally be done with the entire first zone of Sonic 2. With all that being said, this point goes to Sonic 3. Well, we've gone through all of the most important parts of any video game, and we ended up with 2 points for Sonic 3 and 4 points for Sonic & Knuckles, meaning Sonic & Knuckles is the winner.
That was my choice.
Right. While Sonic & Knuckles did win more categories, obviously not all of the categories are created equal. The music is not as important as the level design. In situations where I really can't decide on what to choose, I always ask myself this: if I had to pick one, if this was a Telltale game, and I gotta make a decision on who lives, who dies, am I eating Frosted Flakes or Honey Nut Cheerios? One gotta go, only one can exist. Which one would I choose? My gut is telling me Sonic and Knuckles.
Absolutely.
I think Sonic 3 has the superior levels, so if you're just asking about which half of Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a level selection I like better, I'm gonna go with Sonic 3. However, as separate games, as full experiences, I think Sonic and Knuckles wins here. There really isn't a big reason to play Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles separately these days, although playing Sonic 3 separately does have its merits. There are some music changes that happen if you connect the two games, like Knuckles' theme is changed in Sonic & Knuckles, and the combined game uses the Sonic & Knuckles version. Also, the level design for some of the Sonic 3 stages were actually changed in the combined game to make them a bit easier. But in conclusion, yeah, I think Sonic & Knuckles is better than Sonic 3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, there's a whole playlist of videos just like this one on the left side of the screen.
Yeah, no, I absolutely enjoyed that. That very well done by Kiro Talks. Very well done. Like I said, and stuff I said in my opening remarks, he touched on, but as a whole experience, absolutely, man. You can't. That story was so good, so good. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, man. My favorite. I got it right there. My picture. I got the picture right there. Right there. That's the box art. I don't remember where I got that picture from. Did I get it off Amazon? I can't remember. So I gotta say about it, folks. Sound off in the comment section.
That's a wrap for today's episode. I appreciate each and every one of you for stepping in, showing your love, showing your support, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now I could sit here and smack you all around with the generic like, comment, subscribe BS, but nobody gives a damn about that. So do whatever the hell you want to do, because you're going to do it anyway. Now, I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead. I am Boo, and I am out.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.